Yeah, so I got something crazy to tell you. I am blown away because this past Sunday we was the big day where it
Uh-huh.
was the selection day, and then they
Okay.
put their top three choices, and I didn't know quite what to expect. We were starting with 5 house churches, but
Mhm.
um, and then of those, the 10 shepherds that are leading those 5 house churches, I'm very confident in their ability. I think they're going to do well.
Mm.
But we had it's still going up right now, but as of right now we have 67 people that fully committed to it.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds great.
Basically my whole church fully committed to it.
Uh,
And I 67 adults, 11 kids.
uh,
Um, it's let me see, I wrote it down here. uh 8 VIPs,
okay.
um like that are already in our church that have been attending,
Uh-huh.
that also joined. And
Uh-huh.
so and then also another issue that I had was I already started church membership
Uh-huh.
um, before we started house church. So one of my
Okay.
concerns was, man, what if I have guys and girls that are members, but then they don't sign up for one?
Uh-huh.
So I was really praying, because now going forward, I'm telling my members in the membership class, hey, to become a member, you have to commit to a house church. So
Mm-hmm.
very same stance that you have. But
Mm-hmm.
my problem was that I had already started membership classes before
Mm-hmm.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
So I personally challenged those people and I told them about it. And the awesome thing too is that of the 27 people that are already members, every one of them signed up.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, so
Very good.
I'm just blown away. And so right now, um, I'm putting together the group still, because there's some people that um, when I had them fill out their top 3 choices,
Mm.
one of the options was I would like a pastor to contact me about my situation. And
Mm.
so there's still about 10 people there
Mm.
that I'm waiting to hear back from.
Mm.
So some of those people might even be added to the 67. And so I'm going to
Okay.
talk to them about their
Wow.
situation. So
That's great. That's great. So like going forward, you want to be cautious about these people who hear about your church and walk in on their own without any
yeah,
connection.
yeah, yeah,
You don't want to be rude or anything like that,
yeah.
but just know that you have a good number of people right now, and you want to create this very clean DNA,
Mm,
a culture where people actually reach out to VIPs.
right, right.
Once they start experiencing, not necessarily only from their own house church, but if they experience of seeing that happening at some other house church in your church, they're gonna get very excited when they see
Yeah,
totally unbeliever coming to know Christ. So you want to create this culture right now. So be very careful. Don't fall into temptation that you want to grow your church so quickly.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you do that, then everything will become hodgepodge and very diluted, and you'll just grow too fast without having the substance.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had an uncomfortable conversation, but it was a good one recently,
Mm, mm,
because I think I was telling you last time about one of my guys who attends a small Korean church in the same
yeah.
city,
Uh-huh.
and they don't have an EM, but there's like 10 youth, and he's one of the only youth teachers.
I see. Yeah.
So, and he wants to become a member at my church, and he wants to join a house church.
Mm,
So I actually talked to him last week, and I'm setting up a meeting with his pastor because I want to talk
mm,
to the pastor. And
mm.
so but I have a lot of compassion for him, because
Sure.
he has he's the only young adult in his whole. He's actually a Chinese guy that works at a small Korean church. So he can't even
Mm,
yeah, it's a long story how he ended up there. But so I'm gonna try to meet with the pastor and actually
mm,
encourage him not to become a member
mm.
until we really resolve this issue.
Yeah.
um and I have from the pulpit also talked about this idea of house church is not for inviting Christians. This
Right.
isn't where you invite your Christian friends. Although one thing that, and this is one of my questions that I had for you today, one thing that came up though during the Q&A was someone had asked me, well, what if there's a person that attends a church, but to be honest, I don't see evidence of salvation in their life.
Hmm.
I don't. I think they're just a cultural Christian. They're just a church going one. What should I do? And so my advice was, if you consider this person like you have a close relationship with them, then I think actually putting aside house church, I think you should talk to that person in love.
Yeah.
And then just say, hey, I know you go to church, but I'm concerned as a brother or sister that, I don't see a lot of evidence of a transformed, changed life, So that was my encouragement. But as I think about that, what if there are people who, because a lot of non-Christians, when you ask them, they'll say, I'm a Christian. But then when I pretty much know with a fair amount of certainty, you're probably not a Christian. Do you guys, with those people, do you train your shepherds to try to convince them that, or not try to convince them, but try to get them to understand that they may not be Christians? Or do you just say, if the person thinks they're a Christian, then I can't reach out to them because they believe they're a Christian?
Okay, so if your members have, if I have members that who are very close friends with somebody who don't go to our church, but like how you described, this is what I will do. I'll find out what church they go to, and if the church is not a cult or like so progressive and liberal that there is no gospel whatsoever, then I will, I will then think about, hey, why don't you come, right? But if they are part of a church that's good, right, good church, then I think I will push my members to encourage and challenge their friends to fully delve into the church. Why? It's because I don't want to think to myself, and I don't want my members to think that New Life is the only place where people can actually hear the gospel and get saved.
Yeah.
So is it the church or is it the people? So if the church is cultic, then they have to get out.
Yeah.
But if it's not, then it's that person's responsibility to get fully involved.
Yeah.
So I'll push that person. Hey, if I have a friend who says who goes to whatever the church in Roland Heights, and it's a very good church, I say, hey man, you gotta get fully involved. What does it mean to be a Christian?
Yeah.
You gotta get involved in your church and build it up. So
Gotcha.
I'll leave it at that. I'm not gonna have my members think that they have to bring their friends to New Life for them to hear the gospel and all that stuff.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do with the person that says they're a Christian, but they are unchurched or de-churched? And do you challenge them to go back to the last church that they were at, that they left? Or at that point, would they be eligible to be part of a house church?
So ideally speaking, you want to go after unchurched unbelievers, right? VIPs. But if they are de-churched, then I think you have to have your members find out why and when, right? Why they left the church and when they left the church, and if the time frame is like 3 years ago or 5 years ago, right? And then I think it's been so long that you may be able to invite these people to your church. But if it's like a 6 months to a year, it's still fresh in their mind.
Right.
And there might be some restoration and reconciliation that they have to do.
I see.
So you don't want to have these people come to your church who haven't reconciled with the previous church, either pastor or church members or whatever, That spirit will carry with them.
Yeah.
And if they took that approach, if things don't turn out right in your church, they will do the same thing.
Yeah. Very wise.
Yeah.
Okay. My next question is having to do with my salary. So recently our church just got denominational funding from NAM, from the Southern Baptist. And so
you're part of Southern Baptist. And is it the state convention that's doing this, or NAM that's doing this?
To be honest, I'm kind of confused.
Okay,
I don't know.
All right, okay.
It's really complicated. I don't know how, but we are awarded $2,000 a month for the first year, and then there's evaluation, and then it's $1,500 a month for second year, and then evaluation, then $1,000 a month. So it's a 3-year thing.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, but part of that process was I had to kind of reveal all of our finances, how much money I'm making, had to fully disclose all the financial information to the SBC. And I had to fill out this form. And basically, according to the form, it asks questions like, what city do you live in? What state do you live in? How many children do you have? How many years of experience? and you punch in all these things, and then it gives an estimate of what the senior pastor's salary should be.
Right.
And so basically it showed that I was like very underpaid.
Right.
Now I've been there for a little over a year.
Okay.
And so I was talking to my coach that the Southern Baptists provide, and I was asking him what he did about it, but I kind of like it, but see, what I do not want to do is just make an executive decision to give myself a raise. I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you know, I have a wife, 2 children. I'm living in an apartment right now. Mm-hmm. Things are tight. So what would be just maybe a recommendation for how to go about like doing that? Maybe a way that you guys do it or handle it.
Right. Okay. What percentage of the people in your congregation? First of all, are you guys financially independent from the Korean side?
Yes.
So you have your own bank account, budget.
Yeah. So kind of, yeah. So we have our own bank account, our own budget, but right now, the Korean side pays the majority, more than half of my salary.
How much do you get from the church?
So I get 2,000 a month from the Korean side, and I get 1,500 a month from my church.
That's 3,500.
Yes.
And then will NAM give you $2,000 a month also?
Yeah, but that goes to the church, and then I can use that however I feel.
Oh, it goes to church.
Yeah, it goes to the church. It doesn't go directly to me.
Okay, so you are actually getting paid 3,500.
Yes.
Does it include like ministry expenses, or ministry expenses are separate?
Like yeah, so I have a
car allowance, phone.
No, I don't have a car allowance or a phone allowance, but I do have a church credit card where I use to that's how I treat people out, to like when we have coffee or when I need to buy books for church members. So
that's it.
Yeah.
You don't use that for gasoline?
No.
I think just for treating. And is there a limit per month?
We set a budget of like 500, but it's not everything because we're a brand new church plant, only 1 year established, so things are pretty like loose. But I've never abused that. So yeah.
Well, it's up to $500.
That's what it says in our budget. I think there's been a few months where it's been more than 500 a month, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then what's the percentage of the members that are working? Out of like 60, 70 people that you seem to have, what's the age bracket? And
probably I know what see, we only started membership classes in January. Yeah. And so as of today, I have 29 members.
Okay.
But I'm about to teach more classes. I have about 12 people signed up. But from amongst only the first group of members, the average age is 31 of my church. When you factor in,
they're basically working people.
I'd say half of them are working and half of them are in school. Yeah.
School. Okay. And what about from those people who show up on Sunday?
Yeah, actually, our offering is actually very high for considering our circumstances, and I think it's because I don't know who's giving. I see the total amount. I have someone else that does that, but I have a feeling it's because we have several like very high capacity givers that are members that are doctors. So I think that's why our numbers show really high. Because so recently, we haven't even gotten our denominational funding yet, but recently we're about 10,000 a month in total tithes and offerings combined.
10,000 a month.
Yeah, and then we're about to get 2,000 a month more starting this week. So it's about to go to, and actually 6 months in a row, our monthly offering has gone up for 6 consecutive months. So
like you said 10,000 a month.
Yeah.
And then like your annual income budget is about 12,000 then.
No, it's 3,500 yeah. So that's the thing. So the Korean side pays 2,000 a month. So then
just the offering. Your own offering.
My own offering is 10,000 a month. Yeah.
So it's about $120,000 a year.
It's hard to say because every month it's gone up,
Mhm.
you know, for the past 6 months in a row.
Sure, that's
So
good. Yeah.
it's hard to, but yeah, the last 6 months, if you took the average, it's 10,000 a month.
So you'll most likely be about $100,000 to $150,000 probably
Probably.
because it's kind of right. Then, well, I mean, what do you guys use that money for?
Actually, right now, a lot of it is going into savings. And
Oh,
yeah,
for
yeah.
what?
Well, we don't have very many expenses right now. We rent a school
Okay.
on a Sunday morning, but it doesn't cost too much
Okay.
money, and so it is a hassle sometimes because we have a setup and tear down team. But um, we rent a school. There's 1,500 a month that goes to me. There's reimbursements that I give for different things, like when I take certain people out to eat, or
Mm-hmm.
books or ministry
Okay.
expenses.
Yeah.
So actually, there's not a lot of expenses. So every single month, our savings has gotten a little bit bigger,
Okay.
slowly. But we also I have an assistant pastor as well.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's 1,000 a month.
Is it part-time?
No, he's full. So he's on the Korean side, he's the youth pastor. On
Okay.
my side, he's the assistant pastor.
So his time is divided between two.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Uh,
Hey, you're
how,
asking very good questions. I like this.
how
I
much
appreciate it.
how much do you think you will need to just live?
Um, that's a hard question for me. Um, uh, I think right now I'm living fine, and but this conversation is coming from my denominational coach, who
Sure. Yeah.
says,
Yeah.
Mitchell, you're grossly underpaid. He
Right.
says, for your position, you should be
Mm,
making at least 50,000 a year. When you consider
mhm,
California taxes, insurance, all those types of things, you
mhm.
should be making 50,000 a year as a base salary. And so,
But you're making
um, hmm?
42,000.
Yes, yes.
42, and
So,
then
that's what he says. Now it's just a matter of, like, I don't want to just give me a jump to 50,000 on my own, because a part of me wants to really do this wisely and
mm,
not like kind of still. I want to. So basically, the idea that he gave me, which I see pros and cons to it, was he said, "Hey, pick 3 spiritually mature men in your church that you really
mm,
trust,
mm,
and then they have to all be members and they have to all be committed to your church."
right.
And he says, ideally, you want them to be older men that have families, because they understand what it's like to have a family,
Sure.
and fully disclose all your finances to them.
Mhm,
And then you could even have them call me and
mhm,
I'll talk to them too.
mm,
And then put them in a meeting,
mm,
and then put them in a separate room, and then tell them that if they believe, because we don't have like elders, we're a brand new church,
sure.
pretty much. We don't have these types of systems yet. And he
Mm,
says, just for this one time, until you establish a more system going forward, then put them in the room and then leave it up to those 3 men. And
mm,
then if they say, hey, we want to put you to 50,000, then you agree to that. If they say, no, we think the best thing to do is for our church to still save money, then you submit to that. If they
mm,
say, we want to put you to 55, then you submit to that.
mm.
So that was the advice that he gave me. So um my the that yeah, that's the advice he gave me. But I wanted to hear what you had
Yeah.
to say
So
as well.
that's very similar to what I was gonna say. So
Oh,
my recommendation, my principle is this. Pastors are not in the ministry because of money. We all know that, right?
yeah,
And I personally believe that the place that God has called us to be has to determine the amount of compensation that we get.
yeah,
So if God has called me to be a pastor in some ghetto area, and people are really kind of struggling, I
yeah,
think I'm gonna have to get paid based on what they give, right?
right,
And so I think I have to be at the same level for me
right,
to be able to identify with them and relate to them. If I'm called to a pastoral church in the heart of Beverly Hills, then I have to live right there, you know. And so I'll probably have to be at the average of the congregation's, income salary. So that's my principle. If if pastor chooses to live a very kind of like a very ordinary, average, down to earth life, then that's their choice, you know. And so congregation members, I think, are responsible to take care of the pastors in such a way they don't have to worry about where the food is gonna come from, and that you don't want your wife or your children, to have this type of experience where, man, because of my husband, because my father was a pastor, I suffer. You don't want that, you know.
Right.
And so one other question. So having said that, my next question is, what is? I mean, I don't want to compare myself to like a school teachers, but for whatever the reason, even at New Life, you know, especially the leaders. I mean, these guys, they're making good money, but some for some reason they feel uneasy about me comparing myself with and I don't know about you, but I have a 3-year the master's degree, right? But these guys, actually feel uneasy about me comparing myself to MBA, like the masters of electrical engineer, like all like JD, like type
Yeah.
of thing. But they feel very comfortable about me comparing myself to school teacher.
I see.
Because like they understand it is, first of all, you didn't go to a ministry to get highly compensated.
Yeah.
Second thing is that mainly your thing is teaching, coaching, using your words. So it's very similar to teaching profession, right?
Right.
So either like and at my age, I think they would not have any problem comparing me to like a principal or maybe like a professor at the university because of age and experience, right? So because of that, in our church, I decided to have our new pastor from a new pastor from like either Bible college or like a seminary as a teacher's salary compensation. And so you got to find out what your school teachers actually receive in that area of yours. And so I think it's very safe to start from there. I think then people understand that you're not asking for a lot of money, but that we all know that school teachers do not get paid that much, but they have a very noble work that they do teaching your children. So I think you can have that in your mind. And then the one thing that you have to know is you have to know that the school teachers only work for 10 months. So let's say they get paid $50,000 for working 10 months and they have 2 months off. Then that is equivalent to $60,000 salary.
Right.
Right. And so, if they think about all these type of things and they compensate you based on like teacher salary and you're still relatively young, then I think I'll be very content with that. But on top of that, instead of you dealing with all the congregation members, it is true that if you the next step that you have to do is maybe pick out some deacons who can be in charge of operation of the church. So like you have shepherds, and going forward, you're gonna do a pastoral ministry together with and through them, right? But then when it comes to operating the church facility and overall Christian education, missions, and all these things, you need these teams.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing, and I got that idea from Saddleback Church. So Saddleback is a membership team, maturity team, a ministry team, and the missions team, and magnification team, and all these teams. So I have team leaders, and all these team leaders actually come from shepherds, because I want these team leaders to have a very pastoral heart.
Right.
Otherwise, they can be kind of guys who are very used to making decisions when they themselves don't have this heart to really reach out to people. So eventually, you probably have to go to that direction. But temporarily, out of the members that you have, I think you can actually even talk about, some passages in the Bible that have to do with, honoring the pastor. It's gonna be awkward for you, but
Very.
very awkward, right? So, you can invite Dan, and then, but somehow that teaching has to be taught.
Yeah.
And then having done that, you can even say that, hey guys, we are like 50 people strong, 70 people strong, and you can also talk about how Jewish people, because they are very strict tithers, if they had 10 families, they were able to establish synagogue and have the full-time rabbi, they all tithe, and so you can also encourage and challenge your members. And we have 60, 70 people, and out of this, and then if you add 12 people more to 29 members, that's good, 40 people right there. So we have 40 members, and I think we are at a stage where we can be sustaining. And wouldn't it be awesome if you can even say no to the Korean-speaking congregation?
That's what I want to do.
Yeah, and then so that does not mean that you will detach yourself from them, but you can continue to work with Korean-speaking congregation, taking care of their children, doing the children or youth ministry together. But just tell them, hey, thank you for supporting us. But I think we really want to grow up and be just take care of our own selves. And you can even think about maybe contributing something. So if people understand, and your associate pastor is a full-time, he has to also live too. Is he married?
Yes.
Yeah. So would it be also if your congregation members just give a little bit more, or whatever the saving that they are doing, they choose to reduce the saving amount, and then possibly use that to take care of you fully, and then also use the 2,000 the Korean congregation is giving, maybe give chunk of it to your associate pastor so that he, together with you, can also be kind of well taken care of.
Yeah.
So I think you have to teach this thing, even though it is very awkward. I did teach this. So the first year when we started in 1997, like I told you guys, I started with about 25 people, and then after a little while it grew to 40, 45. And so I told them during the first year, hey guys, this is what's taking place. Korean-speaking congregation is taking care of me 100%. And all the offering that they are giving, it's going into our own account. And that we can do ministry with this. But I told them, I challenged them, but by starting for the second year, I really hope that you will take care of me as your pastor, And so they did. So we only got supported from the Korean side the first year. And after that was fully independent. And then so, you can show your heart. Hey guys, I love this. I really want to see our church grow through house church. And I want to invest if God moves me, also what can I do? Well, unless that happens, I will really invest my life here. And I'm not going to look for a better opportunity or bigger places, but I'm going to do my best to do life together with you. And obviously you can take care of me, and so this type of very honest communication, if you're working hard and the people around you know that you're working hard, and you make this type of maybe challenge and request, oftentimes it gets well received. But I think establishing those 3 or 4 older people who are very committed, who are members of the church, maybe you can use an interim, like board members or something like that, and then put the ball, on their court to do some research about all these things that I shared with you, teacher salary, all these things, and and then I see what they will do.
Yeah. So, do you guys have a process when it comes to whether or not you get a raise? Or one of someone else that's paid staff at New Life? Is it an annual thing? Is it a?
Yeah. So, we used to be, we used to follow the Korean side, like a compensation structure. Mm-hmm. And because of my retired senior pastor had a very, unique, idea. And his idea was his wife was a pharmacist, so she was making pretty good money. So he on top of it, he was not a greedy person at all. So whatever the compensation that he got was perfectly fine. But there was a discrepancy between senior pastor and me and the children's pastor. There were 3 of us back then, long time ago. So I started out with $3,000 here in 1994, and he was getting maybe about 50,000. And so what he decided to do is every year the raise system is like this. The treasurer will study what the inflation rate was a particular year. So at the end of the year, let's say in December, beginning of December, this treasurer, after doing the research, would tell the deacon board, hey, this past year, the inflation rate was 2%. And then based on that, they get a little piece of paper, and everyone writes down what they think next year's compensation salary increase, should be. So they write down after hearing what the inflation rate was. So if the inflation rate was 2% and you only give 2% raise, then there is no raise at all because everything has gone up, right?
Right.
Does it make sense?
Right.
But if they give a 4% raise, then the 2% is washed because of inflation, and we are getting 2% raise. So every year we did something like that, and the raise was anywhere from like 3.5 to about 4.5. So we, in the end, if you take out this inflation, a percentage, we ended up getting 1.5 to about 2.5% every year.
I see.
And so what happened was, every year as our salary was going up, that senior pastor froze his salary increase. So his salary stayed at, like, let's say $45,000, $50,000 back then.
Yeah.
And whatever, though, like, let's say he gets, so if $50,000 was his salary, and let's say we get 4% increase, then 4 times 50,000 is $2,000. So he would split that in half and gave one to me and one to the children's pastor. So while his salary was frozen, ours started to go a little bit faster. And after maybe about 5, 6 years, we caught up. So what he wanted to do was every full-time pastor gets paid equally. Do I agree with that? I personally disagree, because he's operating with this premise that everyone's really good. But over the course of years, I've seen some pastoral staff members who aren't really hardworking. And then some deacons will come to me and say, how come so and so is not coming to early morning prayer, or like not working as hard as other staff members? So that retired pastor's system was really good if he has all these staff members who are very self-motivated and self-driven and hard workers. But the drawback is, if you find one bad apple, then he can totally take advantage of the system.
Yeah.
So I was under the Korean system for a while, and so we kind of went up like that. But every year, that's how we determine the salary structure. But after he retired, I told him, Pastor Chai, that I agree with you for the most part, but there were just a couple of things I disagree, and compensation system is one of them. And what do you think? Do you think I can change that? And then he said, not until he retires. So after he retired, he told me, you can do whatever you want to do. And so what we are doing is, so imagine, I've been in the church for like
20 years?
23 years.
23.
Yeah, 23. That includes 3 years of youth ministry. So 23 years, and let's say there is a seminary grad who's 25, single. And then if he gets paid at the same level, it really does not make any sense to me, and I think it's almost like a spoiling, and so what we decide to do is, okay, let's just make this math very simple so that we don't have to go back and forth every single year. So what I came up with was, okay, since you guys feel comfortable with a school teacher salary, let's say in Houston it's $52,000 per year. So if you stretch that out to 12 months, 60,000, about 60,000. So why don't we start with the $60,000 for these new, pastors that are just coming out from Bible college or like seminary, just like teachers, right? And then after that, then we will, increase based on. So every year, we also do the inflation rate. So if the inflation rate was like a 1.2, then we always give 2% raise. So if the inflation was like 2%, then we add 2, and then we get 4% raise. So every year, in reality, we are getting 2% raise. So it's just mathematical formula.
I see.
And then if you have, let's say you are 40, and you have 15 years of church experience elsewhere, then we multiply that the 15 times 2%. So whatever you start with, 60,000, we give 30% more because of your experience elsewhere, and then you follow the system. if you are 40 but you didn't have a ministry experience, but you had a marketplace experience, we still want to honor that. So we give them 1%. So if it's 15 years of a marketplace experience as a school teacher or engineer, whatever, then we give them 50% on top of the $60,000, and that's their starting salary. So we have system like that, but every year we get a little raise. There was not a year, even when economy was bad, we never failed to give a pastor's raise. And then let's say for whatever the reason, school teacher salary increases to like, let's say $70,000. Then whoever comes out from seminary or Bible college, they will start at the 70,000, and all the other staff members' salary will also be calculated, or will also be calculated based on 70,000 as their base salary.
I see.
Yeah,
that's a very fair system, I think.
It is. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Has there ever been an occasion where, because like in the real world, raises are also, they're not guaranteed. It's also based on performance.
Yeah.
Your employer has a right to not give you a raise, right?
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Has it ever happened at your church where maybe you had someone on staff that maybe they didn't have good work ethic, and they didn't get a raise? Or is it just the system is in place to where everyone
received? But so ideally speaking, what I want to start with is find a good pastor.
Yeah.
That you don't have to worry about their work ethic, so that it will not be an issue, But they did talk. The team leaders actually talked about that. Pastor, if you want to do this, we can evaluate their work performance, and then we can have this not giving or giving raise, but give the raise to everybody. But we can have this bonus system, But we haven't been able to use that, so far, because I don't want to grade them, and I just want to give them the benefit of that they're all working hard.
Yeah. Do you happen? You don't have to give this to me if it's too much detail. I want to respect it. But do you have that whole process in writing or typed out somewhere in a document that I can?
It's not typed up, but it's on Excel, and on the side, it is written almost like a scratch note. So inside people will know. But I can show it to you, if you're interested. But you need a little bit of explanation, just like I did right now.
Yeah, I just I don't want to. So I even told my assistant pastor, I don't want to put myself in a bind where I start a certain way right now that's going to put me in a system that might not be good. And so even right now, my main focus is starting house church. That's the main thing. And I kind of want to take it year by year for now. Maybe hopefully, God willing, next year, or actually maybe by the end of this year, the calendar year, maybe going forward, I can have a plan in place for, how we handle these things going forward. So,
yeah, if I were you, since you're starting the house church, you don't want to talk about this, and that's why I asked you, like, are you able to live right now? And if the answer is very tight, but we are able to, maybe you want to just go through this hard time, maybe 1 year, without saying anything. And then, just work really hard, pray hard, and serve hard for 1 year. And then if you're kind of like sensing that there is a life and the excitement, and that people are really, they may get tired, but that being tired does not mean that they are, discouraged. Like I said, anything that's worth doing in life will get you tired. But if you have joy, then you can overcome that thing. So after about a year, maybe you can just revisit this thing, and then present it to people, and then they will realize that Mitchell is not really about money, but he just wants to be taken care of, to take care of the family,
Yeah.
And, I think that'll be good.
Good advice.
If you die and starving to death, then let me know, man.
Hey, Mexicans, we get very creative, man. We'll eat beans and rice every day if we have to. Beans, rice, tortilla, just burritos every day. No, actually, right now it's really awesome because my wife, we took a step of faith because we don't have a lot, but I'm sending her on our short-term missions trip to Kazakhstan.
Oh.
And I don't know how it is in your marriage, but in our marriage, I'm the one with all the faith, but I don't really do a good job of keeping track of my finances. My wife does. My wife is the one that's she has the budget down, and I give her the paycheck pretty basically. And whenever I want to spend money, I call her or I text her and I say, hey, so-and-so wants to have dinner. Can I? That's just the way we work. But for her, it's very, like I actually would be fine living on top ramen if I have to for a season.
I just had one this morning.
Yeah.
Like Maruchan.
Yeah. Like I'm fine. I could do that, but my wife recently we've seen God I challenged her and I said, I think you should go on that mission trip. And then we had someone very generous offer, just pretty much take care of it. And yeah,
church
really,
people?
Yeah.
Church
And that really shocked us. So, but okay, here's my last question. So I know that you guys have a few, not a lot, but you have a few Saturday house churches, right?
One
Correct?
or
yeah,
two.
one.
Yeah, only one or two. One because the shepherd happens to be a cop, and he ends his work at 10:30. So sometimes 2 times a month they do it without him. He just shows up towards the end of his house church, and the 2 times a month they meet on a Saturday, like late morning.
I see.
And when they do that, then one of our staff members, Lang T, she's part of the house church, and she cannot go because she's working on Saturday. So
I see. So I want to talk.
There's another one that sometimes meets on Saturday to accommodate this VIP who owns restaurant, and they're busy on a Friday, so Saturday they could come. Other than that, mostly it's a Friday.
Yeah, so I want to ask you about that because I have shepherds from the very beginning, spiritually qualified wise, they're going to be great shepherds. Married couple in their 50s. The husband is a truck driver. He drives semi trucks, and then the woman, the wife, she doesn't get home till 8 p.m. on Fridays, and then he always works the early shift on Saturdays. He's been doing it for 20 years. So they at first were willing to be shepherds still, even though she gets home that late on Friday, and even though he has to be awake by 3 a.m. on Saturday morning. And so, but when I did I told them, I said, on Sunday when I gave out the form, one of the boxes I said that was an option was, I can't do family church on Friday nights, but I want to be part of it still. And then I told him that if I could find 6 people to commit to a Saturday night group, that they can move theirs from Friday night to Saturday night. So we have that. Actually, there's 9 people in our church that say they can't on Friday nights, but they can on Saturday. But I wanted to ask you, what are some, I'm sure there's something though about, because I want to be very careful, because even right away, another shepherd said, well, what if we do ours after church on Sunday? And I said, no, because see, that's not that big of a commitment or of a sacrifice, because it's already very convenient. You're already going to church.
Right.
And part of this is I want you to be committed to this and experience sacrifice. So I turned that down. But then even making the accommodation for Saturday night, I'm sure that you've seen pros and cons. You've probably seen some cons with those house churches on Saturday nights, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if you could just give me some wisdom on, like, as I talk to them, because I don't know how it is for you guys in Texas, but on Saturdays that's usually when there's birthday parties for families.
Yes, exactly.
Graduation parties, weddings. They're usually on Saturdays. And so what I told him was, hey, if you know that you have a lot of members or you yourselves can't on a Saturday, then still meet that week, but maybe pick a different day.
Right.
Is that what you would advise?
Yes. So one of the things, so that I think you did it really well by saying that, hey, that's not enough a commitment if you try to meet on Sunday. It's almost like trying to get it over with mentality. While you're at church, why don't we have like a house church also, so that we can get that taken care of type of, with that type of mindset, it's not gonna work. So we want to offer to God something that costs a sacrifice. Second thing is, always ask the question, it's not about you just meeting amongst the church members, but what time and which day of the week is the optimal day for us to invite VIP. That's the number one question that you want to ask.
Mm.
So if Sunday afternoon is the best time for all these church members to reach out to VIP, by all means do that. Nobody stops you. But from our own experience, if they're like a Monday through Friday type of, working people, Friday night works the best. So there's nothing sacred about Friday, but
Right.
it ended up being Friday because the question was, which day of the week is the most optimal day for us to invite VIPs? And then the drawback of meeting on Saturday, and actually this particular house church that chose to meet on Saturday for about 1 year because of this restaurant owner who was a VIP. This shepherd's wife told me that yes, we couldn't go to any of the birthday parties and stuff like this. We're almost disassociated with our church members. So she said that was pretty difficult, but they did it for the sake of reaching out to VIPs. But if they can meet, and then another thing that's very important is a consistency. You don't want to be
Always
inconsistent.
moving days. Yeah.
So if they can consistently meet on Saturday, but then every so often when something happens, then if everyone agrees that when that happens, we're gonna carve out our time during the week to meet and to share. And when that happens, it may most likely be for the church members to get together because if you think that Saturday is the best time to reach out to VIPs, then the VIPs most likely will not show up on Wednesday or Thursday, when you do stuff like this. So, I think I would.
One potential problem I see
Mhm.
is if let's say there's a birthday party or a wedding on a Saturday and they say, oh, the best time for us to meet is Sunday after church.
Mhm.
And then if that happens too many times, like maybe if it happens every once in a while, it's okay.
Right.
But if it happens too many times, I feel like the people on Friday might be a little, not upset, but they might say, hey, that's not really fair,
That's right.
that they get to pick the more convenient route,
Right. So that's not good. So even if let's say they choose to meet on Sunday afternoon or whatever, you got to have these people meet at the people's houses. That's why house church, the name is very important.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
church that meets at people's houses. So,
That's true.
if you tell them, okay, if it has to be Sunday, then still do the same thing that you do on Saturday at people's houses. Don't try to
Right.
get it over with. Don't have that
Yeah.
mentality,
Yeah. Don't go to a restaurant right after church and
Right, yeah. And for example, like if they meet on Saturday, and on Saturday, once every maybe 2 months, we have house churches that have fun nights. I don't have any problem with that. So
yeah.
that once
Yeah.
every 2 months, once every 3 months, they will go to a restaurant and then they will just do bowling for the kids and stuff like that. That's fine. I don't have any, because even the churches have outdoor picnic once a year type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't have any issue. But if they, again, if the spirit is they are trying to just get it over with, and that's the spirit that you have to go after.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, one more just really quick question, and I'm gonna hand it off to Dan. I remember when you told your story. You said you started with, was it 5 or 6 house churches when you first
6,000.
started? 6, right?
Very first time 5, and it didn't work out. I shut them down. And then after about a couple of months of training, then I started out with a 6.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how many house churches was there? Because you started off as one of the
Right.
shepherds, right? Your wife.
Uh-huh.
At what number did you back away, and then start visiting the house churches?
Or you mean we already had about 60 or 70 people there.
Uh-huh.
So like when I backed away, it was not because my house church got big or whatever, but I wanted to experience what shepherding is like.
Yeah.
I wanted to communicate to people that your pastor is taking this very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So for my own sake and for the sake of setting an example, that I did it. After 1 year, I turned it over to.
Oh, okay. So you made it 1 year.
1 year, yeah.
Okay. If you were to do it over again, would you do it the same way, like 1 year commitment, or would you say until I multiplied it one time, or?
Well, I think if you can do so. For example, if you were to now, I think I'm going. I think I'm going to go towards the direction of having my associate pastors, if they're not youth pastor who has to take care of youth house church, who has to visit. For example, let's say I have. I don't foresee having this, but let's say I have a worship pastor or like singles pastor, then I will have all these pastors actually have their own house church.
Mm.
Why? Because it's not like they are working 80 hours a day, a week, but
Right.
they are working just like the marketplace people. But it is the marketplace people who are serving and shepherds.
Yeah.
So I think pastors also have to do that. Otherwise, they're not going to get experience. And who knows? After 5 years, if God calls them elsewhere, then they have that house church shepherding ministry under their belt, and they know what it is like. But as the lead pastor, I think after doing it, for so many months, or you can make a covenant with your own self. I at least want to experience what it means to multiply. That's up to you,
I see.
But I think eventually you will have to be more like a bishop,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's in the Bible. Bishops, they're like apostles.
Apostle.
They went from not that we are apostles, but
Right.
like the duties that the apostles like fulfilled, going from house church to house church just to see how they are doing. And I think that's what I'm doing right now. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Pastor Eric, once again, very helpful. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to these every 2 weeks now.
That's great. Okay, Dan.
Hey, yeah, it was good. It was, I mean, yeah, I'm glad you're listening on that, and I think probably a lot of pastors would be interested in that, because we're kind of like, I think a lot of us in a similar boat, It's like,
That's right.
Dude, we're underpaid, man. We're like,
many of the questions that you asked already.
And so that's good stuff. I just wanted to thank you for the sending out the shepherds, at the retreat we had, and it was awesome. We were so blessed by them, and Ray,
great.
Lisa, Kenneth, and Sean. And they're I mean, it was we had a smaller group, just about 20. And so we had some people drop out kind of at the end. We're expecting more around 30, and so, but yeah, like it was very intimate, and like each of them basically we did everything in house churches, and we just had them.
It worked out good, right?
Yeah, it really worked out good, and just like a lot of people were challenged, and just like how much the shepherds really love to reach out to VIPs. And like Lisa was talking about how, she would like, just be like, ask her, VIP, what are you doing, Saturday? And she's like, I'm going to a optometrist appointment. And she's like, can I come with you? And she would just go with her, with 2 kids. And then it's like, what are you doing after that? Oh, go shopping. And it's like, okay, I'll come with you. And, she just kept like following her around, like, and like my people were like, wow, I can't believe, she would like go that out of the way to reach VIPs and everything. And like Sean, he mentioned too about like, it's like, it's so important to have like the shepherds of the house church and the VIPs, but then there's like a gray area of like people who are like consistent, committed. They're so important too. If they're not, all in, like also trying to care for each other, also trying to reach VIPs, then it's really hard. It can't all be on the shepherd either, and then Ray, he just like challenged, man, I think Ray, he's a natural leader, I think, and he just like challenged like all our people to really pray and fast, for me and my wife, and so they started like a month prayer calendar and filled it up to pray and fast for us, and they just kept challenging, you guys gotta, support Pastor Dan more, it's like you have to step up more, and like they really have a lot of initiatives that come out of it, and just people feeling like I've never really, like growing up in church, always just thought it's about us, but they're really starting to see, that it's like, that it's uncomfortable. They're all like, this is scary, it's like never really, consider trying to reach out to the lost and invite them and all these things, and like I'm scared, like what are they going to ask me, and I don't know the answers to, and like just different things, but like they're really coming to grips with it, that like, churches to reach out to the lost, And so, and then everyone got like more closer together. You know, like we borrowed one of the questions from the seminar when it's like, what is your happiest moment and what is your saddest moment? You know,
it's good, right?
Yeah, last night we had everyone do that, and like, yeah, it was just like every group just really, everyone's crying, everyone's crying, everyone's laughing, you know, and it's just like a lot of people felt healing and kind of a breakthrough in terms of intimacy. They're like, man, I can't believe I shared that. You know, I never shared that with anyone before. You know, a lot of that, and so, you know, which I think, you know, really happened. So yeah, so thank you, and it's just
that's great.
So yeah, and a lot of people who couldn't go, you know, they're like, oh man, we missed out, man, we missed out. We just keep hearing, you know, it's really good and everything. Yeah, and so, but yeah, I mean, so I just wanted to, you know, share a little bit about that, and then actually, like, do you think also we could get a copy? Do you guys have like a constitution or bylaws, you know, and like could get a copy of that actually?
Yeah, I can send you one, and then we are trying to. Team leaders are trying to make some changes. So we're gonna have like a bylaw meeting sometime in June. But until then, I'll send you the bylaw if you're interested.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And I still need to follow up with Chando, you know, how to do that. But like just probably right after Easter, you know, we're just kind of in a crunch right now. But and then just another question I had was like just regarding like the role of deacons, you know, and I guess like what do deacons at your church do? Like how's it differentiated more from the shepherds and other? I think you mentioned a little bit of it, but can you explain more like what is their role?
Okay, so you know, when I started the church, I didn't know all these things, and I didn't think about all these things. So I kind of sort of added, you know, things here and there. But now, you know, after doing this ministry for some time, you know, our church is a Baptist church, so we're not supposed to have elders, you know, but it's all the deacons and the pastor, right? And so, but when I look at the Korean-speaking congregation, it's pastor-driven. So, like even in a Baptist church, sometimes like you know, pastor drives, sometimes like a deacons drive, and other times the congregation members drive. So there are different ways of doing church, and there is not one right kind of church according to the scripture. And so, when I look at the Korean-speaking congregation, it was a pastor-driven, and there are deacons, but the deacons are selected from the shepherd pool. But then their responsibility, they are taught very clearly, is that you are there to take care of all this admin stuff so that shepherds can do pastoral ministry. So which is more important? You know, there's no hierarchy, but the deacons' responsibility is that they themselves are all shepherds. So they know what the shepherds go through. So they are trying to, you know, take care of all this. Like for example, if the roof leaks, who takes care of that? You know, it's the deacons. You know, if the alarm goes off, who takes care of that? Well, who close down the church? It's not the pastor, but it's the deacons who do all these things. So, you know, and on top of that, because they meet with the pastors every Saturday after early morning prayer, they do talk about, you know, some stuff that where the decisions are made necessary. So they do make decisions, but these things really are not pertaining to pastoral ministry, but very admin, logistical things, and facility-wise type of, you know, like decisions. You know, so you know we have to kind of define and redefine. New life is a little bit kind of confusing, I think. So they don't know. I personally don't even know either, but our team leaders don't know if they are more like elders or like a deacons in a typical Baptist church. But now, having done ministry for so many years, I think I lean towards, okay, let's have the team leaders be like a deacons who take care of all this admin stuff, church-wide events, but not about, you know, pastoral ministry. You know? So,
Yeah. And then, do you guys have like a board of trustees?
we had a trustees, but the trustees there are 3 trustees, and you know, their responsibility is to just to do the research about the inflation rate. And then every year, they let team leaders know what the inflation rate is, so they can use that to determine the salary. So if they say that it's anybody can go online and do that, but we do have the trustees, but their role is very small.
Okay. And then you don't, you know,
Hmm?
and you don't have like elders.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Just yeah, other than yourself. Yeah. And so okay. Yeah. That's yeah. That's all the questions that I have for this time. And,
Okay. Okay.
so, yeah. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Mitchell, you good? Yeah.
Well, Pastor Eric, you said you have the deacons focus more on the admin stuff. The admin stuff is that the 5 M's that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah. Yeah.
Membership, magnification.
Right.
Okay, that those are the 5 things. Okay.
Yeah. So like for even maturity team, they're in charge of like organizing retreats and then providing classes and all these things. So they will teach and they will organize these events. But at the end of the day, who's actually spending time with the members to help them grow? It's the shepherds and the shepherds' wives, and it's the house church that help the members of the church grow spiritually. But we will give all this admin stuff, Bible class stuff, retreats and events and stuff like that. Somebody needs to organize these things. And so,
Right.
you know,
Well, let me ask you this, because at most churches they don't have a house church thing, and when a person serves in children's ministry or youth ministry or something like that, they kind of have a certain level of community, and then normally the ministry leader, every once in a while will do like a holiday gathering at their place to treat them because they serve under that ministry.
sure.
But at your church, in order to serve, you have to be part of a house church.
Yeah.
So do you actually discourage like the deacons and then the ministry team people from shepherding people underneath them on Sundays because they actually already have that, or do you let them to kind of have both?
Yeah, so we try to have the team leaders who are in charge of this, like the 5 M's, not to go so deeply
Yeah.
into people's lives. Leave that up to the shepherds, but they can thank them. So when it comes to doing ministry, the team leaders definitely have to talk about the kind of heart that they have to have in order to serve. Right? You gotta have a teachable spirit. You have to pray and all these things, but you can coach them and mentor them, and then after that you allow them to serve. But again, at the end of the day, members have to go to the house church to be mentored and helped. And we used to have this budget for each ministry team to use all throughout the year, once a year, or throughout the year. It doesn't have to be towards the end of the year because Christmas season gets really busy. But all throughout the year, they can use that money to actually spend about $15 per person in their own ministry to take them out or like celebrate by catering food and stuff like that. But after doing that for so many years, we realized that if the wife is here in this ministry and husband is there, they just go back and forth, and too much money and too many celebration going on. And so we decided to just have a one time when we put all the money together. It's church money, but then we have ministry celebration. So it's called a Volunteers Appreciation Day. So we 1 year rented out the bowling alley, and everything is paid for by church, pizza and everything. This past year we rented out this go-kart and then a game type of place where there are games where kids can play and they get tickets and they get their prizes. We rented out the whole facility, so we have a volunteers appreciation day.
Gotcha. I think that's smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those are some of the questions I have, because in most church structures, most church models and systems, when you serve in a ministry, that becomes your community.
Exactly right. That tells you that the community is inevitable. You have to have a community,
Yeah.
and people are seeking it, right?
Yeah.
But because we all have this Friday weekly house church, people don't feel this strong need to have this community with the team leaders because they already are very busy with their own house church.
Yeah.
So they just serve, and they may get a little guidance and job description type of thing.
I
But
see.
other than that, there's not much of pastoral ministry going on. in the ministry teams.
I see. Do you have a document that shows those 5 M's in all? Because I'm sure under each M, there's multiple subcategories.
Yeah.
So do you have a list that you can email me that shows all the different subcategories?
We have a ministry handbook.
Uh-huh.
So I have Lang, and then Lang send you guys ministry handbook. In each what each ministry is all about,
I see.
and what the sub categories are and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Pastor Eric. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. Thank
All right,
you.
man. Good seeing you guys, huh?
Good to see you too.
You look a little tired.
Ooh.
Dan,
Yeah, a little bit. Just
you okay?
yeah.
Okay.
Hanging in there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
5
I heard
o'clock.
about I heard about Heather having a migraine headache.
yeah.
It's very painful.
Yeah, just sick a lot. This week too. Yeah, she's had some. Yeah, so that's a challenge, you know, and so yeah, but just trying to persevere through it. Yeah. So yeah.
Let's pray together before we go.
Okay.
Father, we thank you for this time together, and we thank you for Dan and Mitchell, who love you and who love their families and who love your church. And Lord, that these 2 men truly want to do church the way that we see in the scripture. And we ask you that you will help us to read the Bible very carefully. And also, if the Bible says, do this, do that, would you please help all of us to be very obedient? We may have to do things that's very different from how we are so familiar with and how people are very familiar with. And that may take a lot of time. But Father, we pray that you will give us the strength and also the courage and the wisdom to be able to do that. And Lord God, we know that the kingdom of God is like a mustard seed. It looks very small, but after a little while, if it gets well taken care of, it will just grow to be a big tree. So Father, help us not to get so discouraged by what we are seeing right now, but help us to think about what our churches will look like for your kingdom 5 years from now and 10 years from now. Father, I pray that you will prepare all these VIPs that need to be reached out to by the love of Jesus, so that when Dan's church members and the Mitchell's church members reach out to these people, that they will be harvested. Help us to see these unchurched people coming to know Christ, and they're getting saved and getting baptized, so that all the children of yours will possibly for the first time experience this amazing excitement and joy, the way that we were supposed to experience. And Father, help us not to go back to the old way of doing things, but help us to continue to press on. We ask you that you will increase this community also. We know that there is a pastor in Atlanta that is doing this and committed to do this. And there are a few other pastors who are committed. So we pray that you will just increase this community so that we can truly be brothers in Christ, helping, supporting, and encouraging one another. And we want to see your churches getting revitalized and restored the way that you originally intended. Give us the privilege of doing that and seeing that happen in our generation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
Amen. All right, man. Okay. See you.
See you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, great.